It's that heavy, sinking feeling, right? Being trapped by anxiety and overthinking. You feel locked in, completely unable to escape the bars of your own self-doubt. But the truth is, this cage is entirely inside your mind. We are literally sitting inside a trap of our own making. And, the beauty of a trap you make yourself? It means you also possess the exact power needed to unlock it.
Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, look, we need to dive right in today because we are talking about the absolute chaos happening inside our own heads right now. We have all been there. You know the feeling, the racing thoughts, the endless worries, that exhausting cycle of overthinking literally every tiny detail until you just feel completely paralyzed. But what if I told you that this chaotic, noisy thinking mind is actually totally optional? Today, we're exploring M. Kashar's powerful book, Don't Believe Everything You Think, and we are going to unpack the incredible promise of true emotional freedom.
So I want you to really think about this for a second. What if your mind is the only thing trapping you? We suffer so much in this life because we treat passing mental events as undeniable facts. We have a fearful thought, and bam, we instantly believe it. We take a fleeting emotion and we build our entire reality around it. But the source material for this explainer reveals a huge, fundamental truth. We create our own suffering by identifying with these temporary, passing thoughts. It's that heavy, sinking feeling, right? Being trapped by anxiety and overthinking. You feel locked in, completely unable to escape the bars of your own self-doubt. But the truth is, this cage is entirely inside your mind. We are literally sitting inside a trap of our own making. And, the beauty of a trap you make yourself? It means you also possess the exact power needed to unlock it.
Section 1. The root of all suffering. Identifying as your thoughts. Let's get right into it.
We live in a world that is constantly telling us we need to fix ourselves. We're on this exhausting, fast-paced treadmill of self-improvement. We're trying to outrun our own thoughts, trying to become better, faster, more positive. But as the text reveals, trying to fix the self is actually feeding the very root of our psychological pain. The book anchors this idea with a really profound thought from the Buddha. The root of all suffering is attachment. Just let that philosophy breathe for a second. Our deepest psychological and emotional suffering doesn't actually come from the outside world. It comes from attaching to our thoughts and believing they define who we are. When we have a negative thought, we attach our identity to it, creating deep, lingering suffering out of something that was only ever meant to be a temporary visitor.
Now, let's just slow things down a bit. The thinking mind is noisy, it's fearful, and it treats every single thought as an absolute life or death fact. But we can shift to being the observer. The observer is quiet, calm, detached. The book gives us this incredibly beautiful, anchoring metaphor. Imagine your mind is the vast, open sky. Your thoughts, they're just temporary, passing clouds. You don't have to be the storm. You can just be the sky, simply observing those clouds as they float on by. So when a dark cloud rolls in, like that classic limiting belief of, I'm not good enough, I really want you to ask yourself, is this thought actually based on facts? Simulating this active process of challenging your mental stories is absolutely crucial. Usually, that limiting thought is just based on old fears, past failures, or childhood conditioning. It is not objective reality. It's a story. It's just not a fact.
Section 2. Breaking negative thought loops. The key of awareness.
So the absolutely crucial point here is, how do we actually stop the loop? Let's take a collective deep breath here, because the solution the author provides is incredibly warm, it's grounded, and deeply calming. Awareness is the key that unlocks the door to freedom, allowing us to break free from the chains of negative thoughts. This quote from Eckhart Tolle, which is featured in the text, is profound. Remember that visual of the cage we were talking about earlier? Awareness is the literal key that opens that cage door. You don't have to fight the bars of the cage. You just have to use the key.
Okay, so what is awareness exactly? Well, it's the space between a stimulus, like a thought or an emotion, and your reaction to it. The book uses a great example. Imagine you're panicking over a work presentation. The thought, I'm going to fail, triggers anxiety, which then triggers more fearful thoughts. It's this automatic, endless feedback loop. Awareness steps in and simply notices the panic without reacting to it. It interrupts that automatic loop of anxiety by creating a wedge of pure space.
Let's walk right out of that cage together. Here are 4 highly actionable steps to stop a negative thought loop, straight from the source. Step 1, notice the thought without reacting. Just say to yourself, okay, I'm having a thought about failing. Step 2, question its truth. Are you actually destined to fail? Probably not.
Step 3, create space and observe. Just watch the thought drift by like a cloud. And step 4, and honestly, this is perhaps the most important one, practice self-compassion. Emphasize kindness over self-judgment. Beating yourself up for having anxious thoughts, that just keeps the cage locked tight.
Moving into section 3, escaping the self-sabotage trap. Unlocking the door.
Even when we have the key, stubborn barriers can hold that door shut, preventing us from truly stepping outside. But as Brené Brown says, the moment you let go of self-doubt, you make space for self-love to heal the wounds that held you back. I want you to hear this with deep empathy. Self-sabotage is not some evil force you have to fight or go to war with. It is something to gently understand, to sit with, and ultimately to release through profound self-love. Let's look at the actual roots of self-sabotage. We've got fear of failure, fear of success, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, and low self-worth. The text explains that these are merely deeply embedded childhood or societal beliefs. They are just unconscious fears we picked up along the way to protect ourselves. They are absolutely not objective truths about your capability, and they certainly do not define your worth. So I want to challenge you directly. What is the actual cost of holding on to this limiting belief? What is your perfectionism really costing you? What is that fear of failure stealing from your life? More often than not, it is keeping you stuck in a paralyzing cycle of inaction and self-judgment. The cost, ultimately, is your freedom. To drop those limiting beliefs, the book provides this highly actionable toolkit for practicing present moment awareness. Number 1, mindful breathing, bringing your focus entirely to the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. Number 2, sensory awareness. What can you hear, smell, or feel right now? Number 3, gratitude practice, shifting your focus from what you lack to what you already have. And number 4, acceptance, not fighting reality, just breathing into what is. Notice how just talking through this slows the heart rate down and grounds us in the calm of the now. Section 4, the superpower of uncertainty. Stepping outside. So we have the key, we've opened the door, and now we have to step outside the cage into the great unknown. The greatest freedom is found in embracing uncertainty, for it is the space where all possibilities arise. The author explains that our brains are evolutionarily wired to seek certainty for pure survival. In ancient times, the unknown literally meant danger. But in our modern world, this constant drive for absolute certainty actually blocks our freedom, it blocks our growth, and it keeps us trapped in anxiety. We have to make a major paradigm shift here. We must move from the illusion of control, which is rigid, fear-driven, and utterly exhausting, to the power of flow, which is flexible, trusting, and peaceful. The book notes that letting go of control is a lot like learning to ride a bicycle. It's absolutely terrifying at first, and you feel like you're going to fall, but once you let go and actually find your balance, it is the most liberating feeling in the world. Final section, section 5, intuition and effortless flow, living in abundance. This leads us beautifully into the ultimate reward of escaping the mind's cage. Carl Jung said, "Intuition is not a matter of thinking, but of listening to the quiet voice within that knows what the mind cannot grasp." Intuition is this quiet, instantaneous, and deeply calm wisdom. It is the absolute perfect antidote and replacement for the noisy, fearful, and endlessly logical thinking mind that we've been trapped by for so long. This means deconstructing a massive trope in modern self-help, hustle culture. You know the idea, that you must force things, struggle constantly, and rely on sheer willpower, which inevitably leads to burnout and, let's be real, probably way too much overpriced coffee. The book offers a radically different alternative, effortless creation. This means taking inspired action from a state of alignment and abundance, and creating your life from a state of natural momentum and ease, rather than sheer exhausting force. But how do we actually do this? How do we access this intuition in our daily lives? Here are the practical tools. Cultivate stillness and silence to quiet the mental chatter. Tune into your body's physical sensations, your literal gut feelings. Trust your first impulse, which is usually your unfiltered wisdom, before the fearful mind layers on all that doubt. And let go of the need for perfection. These steps allow you to finally hear that inner voice clearly. Which brings us to the core message of the entire text. True freedom is not about changing who you are, but remembering who you've always been. Just let that sink in for a moment. The transformation from the cage to freedom doesn't require you to fix yourself. It just requires you to remember the peace and the wisdom that already exists at your core, right beneath the noise. So I leave you with this final provocative thought. If you aren't your thoughts, who are you beneath the noise?
Take some time to really explore that space today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, you have the key.